Today we're going to take a very deep dive in what's in that box. And speaking of, some boxes are worth mentioning. I really like that sort of engineering box opening that you go like, oh, what's that? Ah, Heretic. Yeah. Reflective. Okay, so what's in this box? In this box, we got a Jinn manual bronze OD green. Heretic released the original Jinn slip joint in 2023, either at Blade Show or SHOT Show, I'm not sure. And it's been very popular, and they made some very expensive customs in that model. Now, by popular demand, in 2026, in January, at SHOT Show, they announced and showed prototypes of manual opening Jinns. Since then, they released a whole slew of custom versions of that knife that go for anywhere between $1,200 and $1,800. I wasn't going to buy that knife. I love the brand, but not that much, if you know what I mean. So, what I did instead, I waited patiently and finally was able to get a pre-release basic version of that knife from Whatnot. For a few months now, I've been telling you guys that if you're not shopping for knives on Whatnot, you're missing out, but it's a separate topic. So let's open the knife and look at the Jinn. You know, for some reason, I thought they would be bigger. I think I paid 250 or 275 smackaroons for this. I think that would be the smallest knife they ever made. Officially, these drop on May 5th, and there'll be 2 other colorways. But for starters, I think this will be the most popular. All right, so deployment. Let's go. Not bad. Well, on the return, if you don't get your index finger out of the way, you may slow it down right here. Let's see if it flicks like that. Oh yeah, Spidey flick, good to go. Down flick, good to go. Any other? Oh, there's a little bit of a lock stick on this one. Let's see. You know, I don't mind lock stick on button locks because I don't consider them heavy duty to begin with. So to me, it's like a risk reduction. The blade has satin finish on the flats and sort of matte bronze finish or antique bronze finish on the rest. Let's see, how's the centering? Okay, so yeah, so I think it's slightly to the clip side. No, my eyes are lying, because when I look at it this way, the blade is perfectly lined up with that split between the 2 halves. So our blade length would be, our blade length is smack on 3 inches, maybe a hair shorter. 75, just over 75 millimeter. The cutting edge is 2 15/16 of an inch, 74, 73.5 millimeters. Beautiful knife. The finish is not super powdery, but neither is it slick. Of course, overall length is 6 3/4 of an inch, and in millimeters it'll be 171 millimeter. The blade steel is MagnaCut, and I am eager to know what is it heat treated to. But first, let's do some size comparisons. I'm going to start with the granddaddy of the button lock craze, ProTech Malibu. Booker Plus Barnley Quaken is another popular knife in a 3-inch category in button lock. Speaking of premium 3-inch knives, Benchmade 945 Osborne, and a brand new entry from Microtech, MSI Mini, which is a crazy competition for anything Benchmade makes. The blade length on the Mini MSI is a little over 3 inches, but not by much. 1/8 of an inch or so, maybe 3 millimeters. There you go. So yeah, they're in the same niche and in the same price category as Daddy's Mini MSI. Here's the knife everyone loves, Spyderco Power 3. And here's one of the budget bestsellers in 2025. This is CGRB Maximal, designed by Dave Anderson of Knife Center YouTube channel. And speaking of YouTubers, here is Zach in the Wild's Civivi Yonder. One can't speak about Zach in the Wild without mentioning Ben Peterson of NAFS, who designed this MKM Yipper. So as you can see, this go anywhere, any jurisdiction legal 3-inch or less blade length category is pretty well filled in. But I think most competition to the Jinn button lock will come from MSI Mini. Yes, I said it. I predicted this is going to be a super popular knife. I think the only other manual Heretic I have is this Mini Pariah. That's a budget knife by their standards because it has molded handles and a plunger lock, a pretty robust plunger lock if you ask me, because it sits between these two spacers and pins, you know, so pretty decent, still light duty due to plunger. And here's your HOTO Pariah. Now, I don't have any more manual almost said Microtech Heretics. It has a pretty immense flipper. It's tall, and you can use it as a push button or as a light switch. Works equally well. It doesn't need to be that tall, but because there's no finger choil, I guess they want you to protect your fingers. And I definitely see the need, even with my medium-sized hands, I potentially wouldn't mind a lanyard with a bit so I can have an extra grip with my pinky finger. So for you guys with large hands, I would not go much smaller than this. You know, this is basically the right size for me, and this is a little bit oversized, and it shows when I try to do anything with this knife. All right, we're getting close to the time where I put the blade on a Rockwell tester. So T10 all around, not T8. They didn't mess around. They went all T10. Pivot and the two remaining screws are good size. Why? Because they can. It's not captive, so this one is trying to rotate. Where's my other T10? Let's try. This is an optical T10, yeah. I'm going to push this out with the blade partially open. I have my finger here over the button, so because when I pull it out, a bearing came out, that's fine, and the button didn't fly out, that's important. I don't want to take it completely apart. I don't want to mess with geometry because it's perfectly centered, as we discovered. Inside the handle there are recesses there, and the recesses have shim washers that protect aluminum from ceramic balls digging into it. Alright, as always, I start my hardness test with verifying calibration of my Rockwell tester. I use this independently certified and serialized calibration block. Here's a serial number here, and it's rated to be 62 HRC. So we are going to zero it out. There you go. You have to do it in every step. What I did is I applied the minor load of 50 kilos, and it takes the diamond penetrator to a certain depth, preset depth, and then I will apply the load right now, and it dents it farther, and this converts the depth into the points of Rockwell hardness. I got 62.2 HRC here on the dial. I'm going to poke it one more time, just due diligence here on my part. We don't want any mistakes, such an important brand here. And what I predict will be a quite popular knife. So we are going to repeat the process. Bear with me, guys. If you're in the market for a Jinn, or just like Heretics, I think it's important to know how well they perform heat treating MagnaCut. Please don't anticipate anything. It's the first time I test their MagnaCut on this channel. And I got 62.2 spot on. Now, because it's within tolerance, I am not going to subtract 0.2 from the next and following measurements. It's up to you. If you prefer to subtract it, do it in your head. This is too little of a deviation for me to worry. In a real live lab, they wouldn't even consider it an error. At this point, I would appreciate if you hit like and or subscribe button if you're not a subscriber yet, and don't forget to turn on notification bell. Also, thank you to all my monthly members who generously donate at least $4 a month. I put 20 to 30 hours of work in a video of this length without any hope to recover the cost of knives that I mostly buy myself. The more subscribers I have, the sooner the industry will understand that a lot of people are interested in fact and technical reality, and that there are people among us who are willing to sacrifice their time and money to keep the industry honest. And here comes the first poke on Jinn's MagnaCut. Holy smokes, it's 63.7. Okay, let's not jump to any conclusions. We got to do a couple more pokes to make sure the first reading was accurate. So here we go. I'm gonna skip through the boring parts now. I'm holding my breath for the second poke result, and we got 62.4 HRC. So it's more than a point lower. Checking to see if I poked it in the wrong spot. Sure enough, I poked a little too close to the pivot hole. I need to have at least 3 millimeter spacing, and I only got maybe 1.5 or 2 millimeters before the edge of the hole. And here comes the third poke, 63.6 HRC. We are back in a pretty high range. You know what? We did 3 pokes. One of them is an outlier, and I'm going to poke it for the 4th time to be conservative. And I don't mean fiscally conservative, because clearly it's a very expensive knife for a lot of people. By conservative, I mean accurate reading for those people who consider buying this knife. All right, ready for the poke number 4, 63.2. This is good, but I'm still seeing more variability or more repeatability error than I'm used to. So I'm going to do one more poke to make absolutely sure that I'm going to give you a correct average. This is sort of a tiebreaker shot because it will tell us whether or not the outlier was a real outlier. It needs to be 63 HRC or higher for me to be certain. I'm going to do the drum roll. Here it comes, 63.5 HRC. All right, the average is, believe it or not, 63.5 HRC. But don't go anywhere, because we still have to look at this edge under the microscope, measure behind the edge thickness, do a cut test, and then we can really celebrate, I hope. Let's measure behind the edge thickness here. It feels very thin and slicey, but let's see. I am getting 15 thousandths of an inch here in this spot, maybe even less. I'm double checking. 15 thousandths of an inch. I expected a little thicker, actually. That's a good news for people who care about how slicey the blade is. Due diligence, measuring for the second time, and I am getting actually a little less, so 14 to 15 thousandths of an inch is the behind the edge thickness. Wow. Let's still put it under the microscope to make sure that the apex was properly formed and treated. This is a very inexpensive Amazon buy, a microscope with camera and built-in software. It's USB-C compatible with every device that has that connection port, and it has its own app that allows you to not only see what's going on the screen, but also record photos or videos. And it has adjustable light brightness. I'm going to the lower one so that we're not blinded by the light. Here we go. I need to focus it a little better. It has its own focus rotary knob here on the side. The blade is a little dirty from handling, but this is an intact factory edge. Let's see what we've got. Okay, looks pretty clean actually. Let's take a look around along the apex. I do see a little bit of a burr at the apex right here, seen as a thin white line. And in some places, what was that? That was dirt. Right here you see a little more burr as you get closer to the tip. So maybe they did not strop it. Looks like maybe they sharpened and let you strop it when you get the knife, which you should with any knife you buy. The tip is very well formed, has a minimum radius right there, but this is normal. The moment you touch that apex, it rounds off at the tip, so there's no perfect angle in nature. It's always a small radius. This is a very small radius because it's like a 45x magnification right now, and I don't see any major issues with the tip so far. Let's flip it on the opposite side and see how that looks. Yeah, picked up some dirt somehow. I actually think they did a great job. Look how straight they maintain the edge. That's very difficult to do even on a fixed angle grinder. And they didn't roll it over toward the spine, which is a great professional job. So, did this excellent heat treat and decent sharpening job translate in outstanding cutting performance? Let's find out. Getting into this edge of the paper towel is a lot harder task than people realize for a knife, so let's see. Okay, it got in, and follow through isn't great. Hold on a second. Yeah, something is going on. Well, I'm shocked. I was expecting better. Looking at the edge under the microscope. That's why we test, though. This is the whole purpose of tests and demonstrations, to find out. Yeah, so I think it needs a little touching up. This is a paper towel tube that is smooth. I'm going to hit where, see, there are some nicks. I'm going to try to avoid them. Here, let's see if it pushes in. I'm making sure I'm not going into a seam or anything like that, because that would be cheating. So it's not biting in, but let's do it with a little oomph. Yeah. We're going to go with like 6 to 7 out of 10 on this. You can see it's a little bit hokey, but not completely terrible, because some knives I tested don't do it straight off the factory floor. Now let's see with a mini MSI. This is how it's supposed to look. Now this was very sharp from the factory. So this is currently, I would say, at a 9.5 out of 10. And to show you the same trick, it's supposed to bite right in without me hitting that surface. Even one cut through this paper towel tube can actually dull your knife, because it's super fibrous and has these glue seams that I'm crossing. So I just took it from like 9 out of 10 to maybe 7.5, 8 out of 10, just by cutting it one time. No big deal. We will touch it up on a strop. When I'm not traveling, I use these Beaver craft, made in Ukraine. I'm from Ukraine. Strops and Tech Diamond, US made, right here, made in USA, sharpening or honing paste, diamond based. It goes on pretty dry, so it's not messy. So we're gonna just run it a couple of times just to get it. So I'm trying to go more acute than the known to me angle. I think this angle here is 17 degrees. So I'm going lower than 17, and I'm letting the leather get in and fix whatever issues this apex is having. And this side I like to keep it shiny, because it will tell me of any burr. See how it leaves a nice, oh, there you go. So here's something. Yeah, so probably something I left behind after it was striking the back spacer. You can see there's a burr there, but let's see how this looks right on the shiny surface first. Let's score it up a little, get rid of previous stripes. See how it's almost reflecting, so now you will be able to see any kind of striations, and you can see Definitely could use some stropping. I'm not going to do it on camera right now. I am correct in giving this factory sharpening probably 7, as opposed to MSI Mini coming in at 9 or even 10. Alright, so the Jinn. Knowing what I know now after shooting this video, would I buy it? No. Because, you know, I already have the Mini MSI, and they're very, very competitive. Light, more gentlemanly, more heavy duty, small nuances. And you saw, for example, that Boker Quaken fits the exact same niche and provides same level of utility as this knife. So personally, myself, I don't need another knife of this size and with this functionality. I am glad still that I did buy it, because they serialize these on the pocket clip. Each model has its own serial number lineup. So in other words, all the Jinns start at a certain number, production Jinns that is. I don't know if they include signature, but I definitely know that they don't include custom Jinns into, or custom models into the serialization lineup. It's a separate count. Now, the production knives are serialized and dated. This is dated April 2026, and the serial number is 0117. So it's a very early production number, and it's adding a little bit of sort of, you know, ethos to it. I don't think it makes it more, you know, marketable, but to me it's kind of cool that I jumped in before the official release date. So an early comer here.